Okay. I guess I'm broadcasting. I think I'm broadcasting. I might be broadcasting. And if I am broadcasting, I should get the fuck on with it, I'm sure. Well, there's one person. Yep, it was giving me problems. They heard that you liked the song. You said you liked the song, so they cut it the fuck off. But anyways, looks like it's working now. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. And I must just say, isn't that a great hook for the beginning of a fucking live stream? We got the most sophisticated live stream interface that I've seen. People have now started doing this on gaming channels. The gamers use this program. But as far as like talk shit goes, you've got people in the old cheesy news desks. Obviously they have budgets and funding, and they're a business, and they've got agendas and shit. As far as independent guys actually being what YouTube says it wants to be, individuals with voices, basically, broadcast yourself was the slogan. This is one of the most sophisticated live streams there is. And we've got the best fucking intro theme song. And I must say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the hell it is, wherever the hell you are, and welcome back to the Lost-Begotten channel. Is the best fucking live stream intro possible. Okay? Now, I just say this because in general, I'm being fucking ripped off by YouTube. Not just as far as views go, but now as far as finances go. They're still making money off of my channel, apparently. But I can't make money off of my channel. And like I was saying on the previous stream, who millions of views. Used to be millions of views, right? And like, people talking all this conspiracy nonsense about corporations and blah blah blah. And I just keep on wanting to comment, yet somehow the evil corporation Google let your live stream, let your videos go viral. I do live streams because I can't fucking upload a video. And in fact, even though there's a little suite for connecting my iPhone to this computer, thanks to all the hacking that's been done to this computer, or something, I don't fucking know, I can't back up my iPhone. Isn't that lovely? So it used to be I would upload a video, back up the important ones, delete the rest, that kind of thing. Keep storage available on my phone. Nope. It's pretty much live streams only, and only the most important videos get recorded. Oh, was that the little Russian troll popping in for a second just to check on things? Let me just say, you truly are a little bitch. And again, anybody who's actually managed to reduce themselves in the sociological and theological hierarchy of things to becoming a troll, well, a little bitch is the only thing that can describe them. But anyways, I have put a lot of effort into this broadcast, into this channel, into these channels, into my old channel. the intended channel. And I've had to bend over backwards to try to appease YouTube in a certain way until I basically caught them dead to rights for the particular thing that they were suppressing me for. Now, like I said, you can find, before the investigation started, before YouTube started getting paranoid and overtly exhibiting signs of paranoia, if you know what to look for, you could find recommended videos saying that they don't want you to know this information. And they'll be talking about evil corporations and, Mickey Mouse and blah, blah, like. But it's a corporation, right? Supposedly, according to their understanding. That's allowing them to post these videos and make them tremendous amounts of money complaining about corporations. Now I relatively photogenic, got extensive theatrical training as far as, like what high school could offer, right? And I'm generally known to be a very creative and entertaining person. Written over 120 original songs. Got over a dozen original recordings that I regularly rotate through on these broadcasts and videos. I occasionally tell jokes. Not that many of them are funny, but, it's value added. Right? Anemone looks weird. Starting to wonder if my clownfish are trying to pick a spot to lay eggs. I haven't been feeding them enough to lay eggs. But, anyways. What the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah, the Illuminati nonsense. So I come on here and I notice an obvious pattern. Okay. And now, I would like to cite this as evidence. I can feel them, but that's not evidence. That could be delusion. That cannot be looked at as evidence. My psychic ability, my ability to sense demons. But what can be looked at as evidence of demons, before they fucking take it from my mind, is that exact premise being applied. Demons can blind you to things. They can take things from your mind. They can keep you from remembering. They can make you black out and do things that you normally wouldn't do. But is there any evidence that they exist? Is there any evidence that they have this power? Can it be proven that such a power has been wielded on a massive scale? Well, If otherwise intelligent people fail to notice an obvious pattern that directly influences them and could have a severe effect on their lives, if one finds rational motive behind that obfuscation, and that motive is consistent with archetypical demonology, then you have proof that demons exist. And that they want to fuck you up. Now, I mean, humanity, all of you, all of us, they want to destroy us. They like it warm and they don't like a lot of organic things. Well, this pattern that I noticed, this obvious pattern, is that here on YouTube, and growing in influence as Google algorithms took over the search regimes for all search engines, became sort of a motif, if you will, of Illuminati nonsense. Now, this is not the pattern. This is the consistency of the flow. Okay, this is the prevalence. This is the overall general direction that things were moving towards. And this is what elected Donald Trump. And I use the term elected loosely, because he's not my fucking president. He never fucking will be. And I think anybody who calls him a president is suffering from psychological impairment. Namely, brainwashing. But to understand how powerful brainwashing can be, it does help to understand just how powerful demons are, and one has to understand how powerful they are to prove their existence, and one has to prove their existence to understand how powerful they are. FEMA can put us all into camps, right? And Dow Chemicals are turning the frogs gay. And pizza parlors are kidnapping children. And the government controls, our government, the United States, America alone, for some reason, controls whether or not we think the earth is round or flat. They control it. They could not have possibly been mistaken or bullshitted in any way. They are somehow immune to the influence of demons. According to all these people. And you should think of them as evil. And we need to rebel against them. We need to take our government back. We need to elect Donald Trump, is what they wound up saying. Somebody told you they were going to say that. It was, it was me! Oh, yeah, that guy. Too bad nobody fucking listens to him. But there's this thing that all these people, with all of their finger pointing, failed to mention. And this was an obvious pattern. In fact, there was a prevailing theme for over 20 years. And it hinged upon the misconception that the Cold War is over. Okay? But it furthered that misconception into saying that the Cold War never really fucking existed. It was all just a plot of the Illuminati and the Bilderbergers. The CIA actually controls Russia. That's what they fucking said. They said the CIA and these American Western fucking groups control Russia. As if Vladimir Putin was a fictional character. Well, it turns out the fictional characters were the ones they were pointing the fucking fingers at. And nobody noticed that whether it was aliens, Satanism, flat earth, whatever conspiracy, whatever your cup of tea was, pick your poison. It was America's fault. It was the CIA's fault. It was the Illuminati's fault. It was the West's fault. And Russia not only had nothing to do with it, but all these Russians that you saw on the internet, they were your friends and they were here to help you. Nobody noticed. That all of these conspiracies failed to mention any of the duality, any of the hypocrisy in their own statements against Western institutions when concerning Russia. Failed to mention, conquests and genocides and the actual origin of MK Ultra and things like that. But it's bigger than this. As powerful as that makes demons, and that does, by the way, prove that demons exist, the fact that nobody noticed such an obvious pattern. And if you don't notice it, they still might be influencing you. This pattern, this crucial aspect of our daily perception of things. You might think it's just a thing for conspiracy theorists on the internet. You might think that Russia doesn't matter. You might think that Russia is inconsequential somehow. That's because you still continue to underestimate the demonic influence on your mind and how they have hidden history, your history, from you. It's not just about the Cold War. This has been going on for over 1,000 years. This enemy has come from the same place, the same geographic area. An obvious pattern. Just like all these conspiracy theorists not talking about Russia, not talking about the KGB, not talking about the invasion of Georgia, the invasion of Ukraine. Nobody mentioning the weird fucking fact that Kadyrov was one of the rebel leaders in Chechnya, and Vladimir Putin appointed him to be the leader of Chechnya. That's something that a conspiracy theorist should be fucking talking about. Nobody's talking about it. That's an obvious pattern. Our CIA our politicians, our government should be noticing this and making people aware of it. These conspiracy theories, all of them, have some weird coordination and connection with the Russian Federation and the GRU. But what's more is how far back this goes, all throughout the era of communism, all throughout the era of the Soviet Union. And then further back, the further you look at it, when you look at the individual things that they influence, the pattern of their influence, what they tried to control, what they tried to do to us, that's all the same throughout history, as is And maybe that's, harder to notice, but what's obvious is the geographic location of this enemy. You should have fucking noticed, but you didn't. I suppose I should revert to a map, because people don't seem to understand. This is not a map of the Soviet Union with the colors reversed. But if you see the similarity, you shouldn't necessarily put it out of your mind, because, oh, is that the Soviet Union? No, that's 1245. Is that the Soviet Union? No, that's a map I colored in that actually shows their level of influence today. But they could not be behind the Illuminati. They're the good guys, right? This same geographic location from whence the destroyers of Rome came forth. Even back to the time of the Greek Renaissance, their lands remain unconquered, unchallenged. And while Alexander was having his heyday, a rich civilization was falling to the north, in a land called Thrace. A land that Alexander could not conquer. And a land that was in the way of that same old foe. See, this, while hypothesized by modern scholars, simply is not the extent of what, in proper historical reference, should be called the Magdalenian Empire. But while there is some historical reference to a Magdalenian Empire stretching across Europe, again, this obvious thing is not mentioned. It's not brought up. It's not discussed. It's not pointed out as being the obvious solution to a question that many people have. Who the fuck is Mary Magdalene? Well, she was an Akkadian princess from an old world empire, from a royal line of Abraham and Nimrod, great kings. And she, of this international house, became known as Mary Magdalene because of this old world empire that she sought to reunite. And its remnants were in Europe. And in Europe, at the time, there was a man born of the old European house, ruling house, of, I believe, Ephraim, okay, or the Celtic people. And he was adopted, taken into the family of, through an act of heroism. He saved the life of a member of a family, and became a member of the House of Julii. And what people don't know about the old royalty in Europe is that he impregnated several of his adopted cousins. They weren't really cousins. Anyways, this man from Gaul would have been a frequent visitor to a land called Palestine in those times. And he was known quite well for traveling with other Gauls. And generally speaking, when you're one of the imperial type people, right? If there's some place you frequent, you're going to establish some sort of a lordship there. Is this correct to assume, right? Say if you're Caesar, for instance, and you visited Palestine often, wouldn't you have your own port? At least a village. And you would take your soldiers, your men, your loyal subjects, your friends, and you'd give them control over this little area of land that you settled and subdued and civilized and built upon. And while you were away, they would tend to that area and keep it up and expand it. And whenever you visited, you'd have a place to stay, you'd have protection, you'd have a port. You could come with a personal guard, you could come with a small army, you could maintain political influence the way somebody like Caesar would. Now, this is all very interesting and hypothetical. But is there a port in Palestine where there are a bunch of Gauls? Wait, are we stumbling onto one of those obvious patterns, those obvious truths, those obvious facts that nobody seems to realize? And it's related again in the same way. I wonder why that could be. Oh, shit, I forgot it. Why was it that the high priest of the Pharisees didn't like Jesus? Because he was a Galilean and a son of a carpenter. Wait, where's this port? Hypothetically. If Caesar went to Palestine a lot. You know, Alexander had Alexandria. The Gales. That's a known fact. It's a known fact. Gales. Galilee. Gales. Galileans. Who the fuck are Gales? Oh look, am I making too much sense? The broadcast's gone. YouTube just doesn't like what I talk about. It's funny, I came out here to stick up for corporations. And point out how all these fucking psychos on here were speaking nonsense. Cheers. Yep, just before I said something important. Just as I was getting to. One of those crucial subjects that even the troll monitor bot asshole who's fucking there right now, watching and hating me, if he only had the courage to try to wrap his little mind around this subject, his view on reality would change. You see, the Russians have been involved with everything from the Yeshua movement and all the different Shashisha movements on the internet to Black Israel. Oh yes, just a new form of anti-Semitism that's okay because it's black. Only Russia could think of that shit. It's hilarious. A gale. It was the communists who came and said that white Christians were all full of shit. You know, it's while they go and back up the neo-Nazis and shit like that, they also have these communists. Like, I really don't know how any of you are full of shit enough to serve these people. While they're backing up white supremacist groups and neo-Nazis and stuff, they're also backing up these communist fucking people who want to tell you Jesus was a brown person and that Europeans are stupid for having ever depicted him as a white person. Look how stupid all the Europeans are. Look how stupid religious people are. Religious persecution, posing as education. The Soviets love it. It's you fucking people that are responsible for that. Working for the same cause as the demons would seem to be causing this logical disconnect. Gaelic, Galileans, Gales. Hello. Those are white people. And then you have the Caesarean descent accusation. people a while back thought that Jesus was Caesar's son. Oh yeah. They thought he was the boy that Cleopatra had with Caesar. Caesarean. From which you get cesarean sections. How interesting is that? That we somehow have a medical procedure named for a possibly mythical event? One that we're not supposed to look into, one that we're supposed to question the facts around. Somehow, there was a credible enough doctor present who performed extensive enough documentation that his procedure would be of that given name till this day. The Caesarean section, the C-section. You didn't remember that Caesarean is the reason why we have a C-section? Just like you didn't remember Galilee was full of Galileans, and that's why the Jews rejected them? Jesus wouldn't have been rejected if he looked like all the other so-called Jews. That's why they said they rejected him, because he was a Galilean and the son of a carpenter. He can't be the son of David. Look at him! So many obvious logical things. Why could you not realize them? You know, when someone who knows they're about to die says, those who live by the sword die by the sword. Why has not a human for 1,000 years even hypothesized that the person who said those words might have been a mercenary? Do you have some other interpretation of live by the sword? Just like you have some other interpretations of what it means to be reborn? Born again. That's to be reincarnated after you die by gaining spiritual ascension. You can only be born again through Christ who strengthens you. You have to gain spiritual ascension in order to be reincarnated. These are the same things in a different language. One is very Germanic based, and one is more Latin and Gaelic based. Simply two phrasings of the same logic. And one is meant for one crowd, and one is meant for the people who aren't morons. Speaking of morons, I had to take a moment. Dude, the fucking anemone just looks extra happy right now. Just relaxed and flowing everywhere. When the wave maker is just a little bit clogged, it seems to be a little happier. Like it just can enjoy the sunlight a little more. Anyways. Yeah, you might have met some Gaels. They're called fucking Irish people. Or French people, or people of French or Irish descent. A lot of Spanish people. Basques. Like all of the Spanish blood that didn't come from tribe of Elam? Arabs? Yeah. That was all Gaulish. Except for the Phoenician settlements. That was Scythian. You see, there was a time long ago of much more honorable war before this became the norm, or before the decisions that evolved into this were even made. So how many obvious logical patterns involving Christianity, the way it's been decided, whether or not you believe in it still, and the things that you were told to determine whether or not you believe in it still, the conspiracy theories on the internet, the prevailing wisdom on the news and of history teachers and scientists, if all of those different things completely miss entirely obvious patterns, entirely obvious interpretations, entirely obvious facts, and all of those facts have to do with a singular theme, they serve a motivation. You can determine that motivation. Doesn't that prove that there is a coordinated, coercive force capable of telepathic manipulation that can be defined as demons because of what they do and how they do it? Isn't that essentially proof not only that demons exist, but where they come from, who they're working with, and who they're targeting in order to achieve their objective? You know, that's all just logical. You know what else is logical? You know what's logical to the Russians? The appearance of the Messiah. Yeah, that's right. You heard me correctly. I said, the appearance of the Messiah, quoting, is a logical determination that must be strategically accounted for, that has been assessed and documented, and policies made around by the Russian government. The appearance of the Messiah. They think of it as a cyclical thing. Funny that. I wonder if any of the turned agents like Yuri Bezmenov ever considered the cyclical nature of the Messiah and their corruption of religion, and the fact that being reborn means reincarnation. But see, they targeted reincarnation-based beliefs too. They still to this day have gurus in Tibet and India. Oh, fucking Hollywood celebrities and